Hello, gathered friends. I'm Nuva, and welcome to Bionicle Deep Dive, where we analyze the tropes, characters, and lore of LEGO Bionicle. In this video, I wanted to ask the question: is Lhikan's mask cursed? Because everywhere it's been, and everyone who wore it, has been struck by immense tragedy. Let's dive right into it. Lhikan's yellow Kanohi How has one of the longest and most interesting histories of any mask in the series, and certainly the mask with the most history outside of the legendaries. We rarely see it actually used, but the significance of this mask lay not in its powers, but in the characters who wore it and the tragedies that befell them. Everyone who ever wore it died, and also saw teammates die, and everywhere it's ever been has been completely destroyed. Initially worn by Lhikan of the Toa who, despite his legendary heroics, lived a deeply tragic life. Early in his career, he saw all of his first team die at the hands of invading Frostilus, with himself, a rookie, as the only survivor. Later on, he would go on to form a new team, the Toa to defend the city of Metronui. But that ended in tragedy as well, as Lhikan was betrayed twice by members of that team, and all the rest were wiped out at the hands of the Dark Hunter Eliminator and the Rahi Nui at the orders of Makuta Pterodax. Makuta then cast Motunui into endless sleep, causing the great cataclysm that destroyed his adopted home. Lhikan himself was killed when he, as a Turaga, took an attack meant for Toa Vakama, one of the heroes he chose to be his successors. He then removed his mask and told Vakama that he was proud to call him brother. Now, later on, Vakama would give this mask to the Matoran Jaller upon his awakening, whose own mask was damaged on the journey from Metronui to their new home on the island of Motunui. One has to wonder how Vakama always seeing Lhikan's face in Jaller's affected their relationship. Vakama took Jaller under his wing as a mentor and held Jaller to very high standards. I wonder if subconsciously Vakama was holding Jaller to the memory of Lhikan's legacy. Jaller certainly became a hero in his own right even before he became a Toa himself. We do know that Vakama made up the story of Lee, the great Matoran lava surfer, to keep the memory of Lhikan alive, since all the Matoran lost their memories of life on Metronui. We also know that Vakama told Jaller that he was of the clan of Lee, as a nod to the fact that Jaller had inherited Lhikan's mask. Now, Jaller would face similar tragedy to his predecessor. During the events of Mask of Life, his home of Takoro was destroyed by the Rakshi, sank into the lava. Later in the movie, Jaller would also die, in very similar circumstances to Lhikan. Like Lhikan, Jaller jumped in front of an attack meant for his friend Takua, an attack sent by one of Makuta's Rakshi. And much like Lhikan, his dying moments were spent telling the one he laid down his life for that he believed in him, and their deaths led both Vakama and Takua to embrace their roles as Toa heroes. Jaller's story differs from Lhikan in that Jaller was brought back to life thanks to the cosmic power of Takuta Nuva, the fusion between Takanuva, Toa of Light, and Makuta Pterodax, the Master of Shadow. Using the combined power of darkness and light, as well as the life essence of Makuta, Takuta Nuva was able to resurrect Jaller using his mask and restore his body. That Jaller was resurrected using his mask was very interesting, as it makes you wonder if Lhikan also could have been resurrected with it. Some fans have even wondered if it's possible that when Jaller came back, that he came back with a portion of Lhikan's soul. If a piece of their soul is stored in the mask after death, one also has to wonder if there wasn't a small amount of Lhikan's influence in there from the beginning, especially since Jaller would be more of a blank slate after having his mind wiped. Perhaps after 1,000 years, nearly all of Lhikan's spiritual connection to the mask had faded, but it's possible that some remnant remained behind and became a part of Jaller. Some fans have even proposed the theory that being resurrected with a portion of Lhikan's spirit actually changed Jaller's destiny and gave him the potential to be a Toa. Now this is pure fanfiction, so you can agree or disagree with it, but I definitely find it an interesting thought to explore. But the tragedy of the mask doesn't end there. While journeying out to find the missing Toa Nuva, Jaller and his team of Matoran stumble upon the realm of Karzahni. Karzahni, in his attempt to strip them torn of their identities, takes their masks away from them. Now, Jaller had just recently learned of the history of his mask and of Lhikan, and became even more honored and attached to the mask he wore, so initially refused. But a terrifying vision from Karzahni made him relent, and Karzahni kept the mask even when Jaller escaped. This would lead to the final act of devastation associated with the mask, as later on, the entire realm of Karzahni was destroyed by an enormous tidal wave caused by Gali Nuva's nova blast. Thankfully, all the inhabitants had been evacuated earlier, but the absolute destruction she had caused drove Gali to tears. The only thing that survived unscathed was a single, yellow how floating on the water. So we can see, this mask carries with it a legacy of both great heroism and tragic devastation. And what makes this all so deeply ironic is that this was a Kanohi how, a mask of shielding, meant to protect its wearer from harm. But we see that harm came to everyone who took on this mask, and the heroic legacy that came with it. Now, do I believe that there was an actual literal magic curse placed on the mask? No. While actually cursed masks do exist, like with the Ignika, I don't think this is a case of in-universe magic at play, but rather this is more literary in nature. Cycles of tragic themes surround these characters that possess the mask, highlighting their parallels and their struggles, and the juxtaposition of them shows their shared heroism, bravery, and willingness to sacrifice. But those are my thoughts on the history of Lhikan's mask and the tragedy that followed it wherever it went. What do you guys think? Do you like this analysis? And what do you think of the parallels between Jaller and Lhikan? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, my gathered friends.